Hello everyone, welcome to the BYC Collective. In this series we are going to do as the title suggests and keep it minimal. This is essentially what we are going to be making here. And what happened to me was I reformatted my machine, I upgraded my OS, and in doing so I basically deleted all of my Houdini preferences, all of my materials and everything because I was having issues with the license server. So I had to do like a complete reinstall, and in doing so I deleted all of my materials and preferences. So what I really needed to do was to build some more materials, and this is kind of following on from the Houdini Everyday series. Essentially I made that to help you guys if you were starting out in Houdini. I'm basically just showing you the process that I did pretty much every night for a couple of weeks, and just to get rendering, start creating things in Houdini. And so I hope the Houdini Everyday series helps you. In this series we're not going to dive too far into the setups. The project files and everything will be on the website for you to download and dig in a little deeper. But I just wanted to show you, and will keep showing you, kind of the process that I take to make some materials. In the first one here, when we create this, I'm just going to show you through my setup, show you how simple it is, and then we will go into packaging up our materials, because this is what I need to do. So this is the end product. If we jump into Houdini over here, this is the render that I made, and I'm just going to take you through the setup. So if we jump back into our scene view, what I pretty much did, so I'm going to hide our object, just zoom out, and this is the little backdrop that I made. And just like with every backdrop, pretty much all I do is I'm just going to hold Alt and click and drag this. So now I've got a new one. And I'm going to hit S to go into my selection mode. So, and then I'm going to hit 4 to go to faces. So you can go 2, 3, 4, 5. We want primitives, faces, so now I can select these faces. All you do is, so I look at the Z-axis, so down here it's pointing this way, so I know that everything's going from right to left. Select these faces, hit delete, this is what I am left with, and then I'm going to hit S and then 3 to select our edges. I'm going to select this edge, hit tab, type bevel, and then we're just going to give this a distance of, say, like 20, and then instead of this we want round, and I'm also going to give this 20. So now we have a nice just infinite backdrop, basically. So that's what I did. That's what I do for pretty much all of my scenes when I'm just, if I just want like an infinite background. Then we go back into our object layer, and here's the little bottle thing that I made. And just to look through that, again, you'll be able to download the scene file and jump in and grab this stuff. So if you'll notice, like in here, I built everything within one geometry node. So inside this little folder, and you would have noticed that to the right here, this is Nuke. I am a compositor by trade, so this is the program that I use pretty much at work and all the time. And you'll notice like these little nodes set up. It's pretty similar to Houdini and how that works. And again, like I started in Maya, moved into Cinema 4D, and since I jumped into Houdini, just node-based, a node-based setup for building 3D, it just appealed to me, and it makes things a lot easier. Or at least I found it a lot easier. There's a lot of kind of tricks and things that you can do. So just going into this, I pretty much just started with a tube down here. Let's go there. And then I beveled it, gave it a nice edge, and then I started extruding down here. Extruded a bunch of times just to make this little lid thing. And what I'll show you is here, I will just Alt click and drag to copy this. Oh, there we go. So now we have this one. And I'm just going to extrude from the top so that I can show you this, because I kind of just figured it out now, funnily enough. So say I wanted to extrude this, and I'm just going to extrude it up so it's easier to see. So we select our face like that, deselect whatever gets grabbed, and I just hit Shift and Control to deselect, Shift to keep adding. And then what you would usually do is just go extrude, and you get this little handle, and now you can extrude it. So in Maya, what you could do is you could press a hotkey, and I think it was G, that would just basically replicate what you had just done. So you can extrude a bunch of times. And for the longest time with this selected, I would then hit Tab again, type extrude, and then we get another one, and it creates that line, and then again extrude. But it gets super annoying having to hit Tab and then type that over and over again. So I'm just going to go back to the first one here. So here we extrude. So now a little shortcut, and essentially what I did, I went to the inset and just inset it a little bit and bring it down. But now a shortcut, what you can do is if you just hit S to go back into your selection mode, and then hit Enter, you get another little handle, and you can extrude again, and then inset. And then you want to extrude again, just hit S to go into your selection mode, hit Enter, and you can just keep doing this. S, Enter, S, Enter. And you know, that just sped up my workflow after I figured that out. And I think I figured it out by accident. So I just wanted to show you that because it will save you time, especially when you need to extrude things. So that's pretty much what I did for this top. There's the lid, and then for the base, pretty much the same thing. Just started with the tube, extruded and beveled a bunch of times. You know, extrude. I made it, extruded it in, extruded it down, and bevel the bottom. And then we merge these together over there. So now we kind of have this little bottle thing with a lid. I think I just gave another edge loop here. And then I'm giving it some normals, and then we're giving it our material here. And then after that, I needed just some rings around. So I'm basically taking a circle, adding a poly wire, I'm transforming it, and then I'm merging it all together. Again, normals, and then our gold material. And then a tube. This is probably for the base. Merge that in. There's a little transform here where we're transforming everything up. And then again, we're doing another. So I took this circle, and then you can take a carve node. And what that does is it just gives you control over how much you actually want. And then polywire, and then I took this line and pretty much did the same thing. I didn't get too crazy with it. Transforming again, normals, gold. And then this gets merged over here. And that's essentially our little setup. And then we transform it down. And there we go. There is our little scene that we kind of made. And then, just to jump through, took a camera. What do we have? It's an 85mm. I kind of like the longer lenses when you're doing this kind of small work because it brings everything closer together. And aesthetically, for me, longer lenses with these small scenes just work better. And then we grabbed an environment light, so you can just hit Tab and type environment light like that. And again, you can grab the scene file, and this will be in there. And again, I'm just grabbing an HDRI from HDRI Haven, HDRIhaven.com. Just go there. And then what I did was I created an area light. I just placed it over here, just so that we get like an extra kick. And then what I did was I parented it to a null, so now I can rotate it around the object if I want. Let's get better. Let's just hide our backdrop. So that just means I can rotate it around our object from the origin. There we go. So that's the little scene. But now what really sells it is the material and what we make. And essentially I went into this not really knowing that I wanted to make this until I made one material which wasn't very good, and then I started making this one. And then just through, you know, some playing around and playing with different noises, I got something that looked pretty decent. And while I was creating it, and what really helps is going into it with more of like a feeling. So, you know, while I was making it, like the end result, I wanted this object to look like something that I could pick up. You know, like if I had to see this in someone's living room or something, like I would want to go there and like pick it up and feel it and, you know, touch the texture and yeah, this is the end result. This was just the final look of the material that I thought looked nice, and that if it was in someone's house, I would definitely go and touch it because it looks touchable. Okay, so so basically, this is what the material looks like. All I did was I took a principled shader over here. Just gonna give us a bit more space. It's just a principled shader, which I am adding a base color with some noise. It's basically just black, though, because, again, I started making something and then I realized that cast iron is just black. So I turned it black, and then we have some roughness and displacement going in. So I'll just quickly jump to mantra, and then I'm just going to knock these down so that we can see what we are doing. And what I'm going to do, I rendered this at 2K, so let's just make it 1K, like that. And then let me take you through this material quickly. So usually for your base color, you know, your diffuse, you want some, you want variance. As much variance as you can give CG objects in terms of like displacement and color and everything. That is what helps take the edge off of like the CG look. So if I didn't have all of this, like if I just had, let me just quickly jump back. And instead of using this one, we're just going to use this, where I bypassed all of the materials, and now it's using this material for the whole object. So it's looking at our black cast iron, which is here. So quickly, if I just disconnect these and render, we start to get something looking like this, which doesn't really have anything interesting going on. It's basically a black material with a little bit of roughness in here, which is you know, softening our highlight over there, but it just looks very CG. So that is why we need to add as much variance as we can, or just as much variance as we need to in order to sell the look of the material. So to take you through everything that I've done, basically, just going to hit Shift and click and drag like that. Did I get it? No. Okay. It's fine, just delete that one. So this is basically just like the base material. I did add some noises here, but that was because of the first material that I was making, and essentially all I did was I made it pretty much all black. So this is the diffuse color, pretty much. I think what I had was like this turbulent noise, which I am distorting with this turbulent noise, distorting the position like in the Houdini Everyday series. And then I'm adding like another noise, so we get this. But at the end of the day, I didn't want like this much variance, which is why I just basically made it black, because cast iron is essentially just black. And then going into displacement, so in here, you'll notice I've got like a very fine kind of noise pattern, a very high frequency noise pattern to give it this kind of bump. And that is essentially this right here. So we have this noise. Let me just gain up because the amplitude is very, very low. So that's pretty much giving us our bass high frequency. And then just to give it more variance, I added a noise like this. And essentially what I did was like I choked it. Again, remember this fit range is kind of like a levels. So what I'm doing is just making the contrast between black and white tighter. So wherever the whites are getting whiter, and therefore leaving less space for kind of gray values. And then I clamped it because I wanted like a flat plateau. And then I added another turbulent noise, which is probably let's go down. So I noticed like in cast iron pans, there's kind of like this almost like left to right, like more kind of horizontal noise pattern. So I made, so I just did this. In the frequency, you'll notice that my width is a bit lower. I don't know why these are switched around, but I had to do that in order to get like this left to right kind of movement. And then I'm just adding another noise and distorting it so that we get just a bit more breakup, a bit more interesting result. And then I'm multiplying it way down. So that's kind of the end result. This is just like a multiply constant node, which means you're just multiplying it by a value. So it usually comes in at 1, which means that, you know, it's multiplying the result by 1, which means that it's giving you the same result. And then I'm just multiplying it down by 0.005 just to get this. And then we kind of add it all together. And this is our end displacement. And then again, I am multiplying it down even further, because as I started rendering it, I just noticed that it needs to go down pretty low in order to give you that fine kind of displacement that we see here. The more displacement you give it, the less smooth it gets, obviously. But like I wanted this object over here to be rough, but still be smooth enough that it would be interesting to touch. And this is pretty much what we get. And this was through like a lot of playing around. But again, if you've watched the Houdini Everyday series, I kind of go through this setup in a bit more detail, because this is where a lot of power comes from in shading, and this is procedural shading. So you'll notice again, we're not working with UVs or anything. It's basically just the position of the object. So if I had a bunch of these around, it would each get a different value of this texture, because wherever it is in space, that's where it's looking for. So this is cool, but you'll notice like our roughness is still, it's still just using like the default kind of roughness here. So what I wanted to do is use the same texture that we're displacing this object with and use that to drive the roughness. So instead of using the multiplied down version, we're just going to take a snapshot and then let's plug this into our roughness over there. And you should see we should just get like a better evaluation of how rough this kind of object is. So you'll see we get like a bit of a kick, because essentially all it's doing is it's saying that wherever this noise value is over here, this is the noise. So now we are using the roughness, or we're using our procedural texture that we're using to drive displacement to drive the roughness as well. And you'll notice we get a bit more of a shininess, a bit more we get a bit more contrast and it starts to pop. So that is without the roughness. This is with the texture-based roughness. So in a lot of my materials, this is what I land up doing, because it's nice to get kind of like an accurate depiction of where the roughness is. And then you can also like invert it and do some things here. This is pretty much, I just took another multiply constant and I'm just knocking it way down, so it's not as bright. It's not catching as much light. And that's pretty much the material setup that I did. Pretty simple, but to really make something look good, you got to play around with it, and that's what I did here. So what I really wanted to show you guys is essentially how do we package this up now. Like, say I create a new scene and I want the same material. I don't want to have to set this up again. So what I'm going to do is save it as an asset, and that way we can save this setup as a preset, and then we can use it whenever we like. So let's just let this go for a little bit so that we can compare. Cool, that should be good enough. So we have created this material now with all of these custom attributes, or just a custom setup, and now we want to save this as an asset. So in order to save our custom material as an asset, what we need to do is just select everything. I'm going to take a little snapshot here, select all of our nodes, come up here to edit, and then click collapse selected into material. And boom, that will throw everything that we've made into this material builder node. And you'll notice that it has completely shit its pants and it doesn't know what to do. So, you know, this is our setup inside of the material builder. It's given us some extra nodes, and what we'll do is just come back up here. I'm going to grab this. Let's just call this custom cast iron material. And then I'm going to just drag this and drop it back onto our object, and that should reset it. And there we go. We have our material back. But you'll notice something's gone wrong. It doesn't quite look the same as when we first finished it. And this stumped me for ages. It actually prevented me from creating custom materials or being able to create them, because every time I made them, it wouldn't look the same. It's a little bit subtle, so I'll just go back. See how nice and rough it is, and now it's lost some property. And for the longest time, I had no idea what to do, but I figured it out, and I'm so glad I did, because now I can show you guys. So, so you'll notice that for some reason it's lost some attribute. It isn't being able to see something. So think of it this way: is that now that our material is inside of this folder here, this material builder node, essentially some of the parameters that our material here has, it can't, the renderer can't access it because it's inside of this folder. Think of it like it's kind of like a blocking mechanism, is that now the renderer is reading this material, but there are some properties inside of here which aren't being promoted back up to the top level. So I can't believe it was kind of this simple. It took a little bit digging. I couldn't really find anything online as to why this was happening, and then I found something online which basically said the same thing, is that there's this folder is preventing a property from being read by the renderer. So what I had to do was, let me just take that snap. So basically it's only outputting let's see, can I expand this? The VM displacement bound, which is essentially this here. So here are all of our displacement, normals, and UV parameters. We have gone into the custom displacement. So what I had to do for this is go to displacement here, check enable input displacement, and then that's where you pump in your displacement over there. But for some reason, it's only exporting out this VM displacement bound. And what I had to do was, so if I select our material here, go to this little cog, hit edit parameter interface, and then if we go down to displacement, it should be right at the bottom. Here's displacement. You'll see that it's got this VM displace bound, okay? And that is what this is outputting. So it's basically outputting this. And what I realized is that it also needs to output true displacements and add bump to ray trace displacements, because nothing else is enabled. So basically I am just looking here, VM true displace and VM bump ray displace. So if I select this node now, go to the gear, hit edit parameter interface, and you'll notice that this is just a float. So I'm going to grab 2 more floats, pull it over here, and then I'm just going to label this one the same as this VM true displace. So VM underscore true displace. Copy that, paste that there, and then for this one we need VM bump ray displace. So go VM underscore bump ray displace. Should be correct. Copy, paste, and then I'm going to hit apply and accept. So now this is all 0, so I don't think anything has been changed. But anyway, for the I'm just going to cancel that. So in here you'll notice that it is enabled. So here I'm just going to break this, say delete channels, turn that up to 1, 1, and 1. So enable all of those. And then I'm going to hit stop and then render, because now that we are inside of this material builder, it sometimes needs to cache again. So now, in order to get it back looking the way we wanted it to, this should fix it. And then what you can do is, because now every time, to save yourself the hassle of doing this every time, all I'm going to do is, on this properties 1 node, go to this gear icon, hit save preset, and then you can call it whatever you want and hit save preset. I have already done it here. So custom material 1. So now every time that I can throw down a properties like this, and then just go here and hit custom material 1, and then boom, I've got all of these. So that will save you some time. So let's just let this go. Now you'll see that our material looks like it used to. All nice and not messed up like it was here. So that's what it was. This is what happens when you first throw it into this material node. And then here, by fixing these properties or promoting the other properties that we need, the renderer can now read our displacement, our correct true displacement. And one last thing that we need to do, so I'm just going to snap that, and then you'll notice I'm just going to delete this one. This was the broken one, and you'll see that now we have the same material. So I'm just going to stop this, and to wrap it up, you'll notice that our materials here, it has like a layer output where you can blend to, so if we just say principled shader, let's just make this like red, like that. And if we want to, we can throw down a turbulent noise. just keep it like that, and then you throw a layer mix, and we want to mix this one, that one, and use this noise as the alpha. Now we can add this, hit render, and now we can blend materials together. We need global variables, position, then let's just fit this range. Let's just crunch up our values. So you'll see we have blended this white and red material using this noise. But you'll notice that our material builder over here, it doesn't have that layer output over here. So in order to get that, just going to hit a snap, hit stop. So what we need to do is if we just throw down a parameter like that, and so the type over here, it needs to be a struct, and it needs to be a shader layer like that, and then let's enable use input value if parameter not bound parameter, and then we plug this into our layer, and we're just going to call this layer like that. So it's a struct, it's a shader layer, and then if we go back up to the top, we just go export, click always, and now if we jump up to the top, there's that layer. So theoretically, let's test it out. We should be able to take this white and blend it like that. Let's hit render. Now we can blend our custom material with another material. So that's how you get that little layer output in order to blend this material now. One more thing I'm going to show you quickly is if we jump inside, I basically have these multipliers here which can control the roughness and displacement. And it would be nice to kind of have that outside. So I'll just quickly show you that what we can do is if we hit the gear icon, hit edit parameter interface, and then over here where it says create parameters, go to from nodes, and then I'm just going to look for my displacement multiplier, drag it over here, get rid of that, and then we need our roughness multiplier. You can just grab that and bring it over here. So now we have our displacement multiplier and our roughness mult. Just like that. And then we can hit apply and accept. And now you'll notice that we have displacement mult, roughness mult, and if we jump inside here, you'll notice that these are green now, which means that it is being channel referenced to the top. And then and now you can control these from the top here without actually having to jump inside. So what you can do is you can, then promote, we can call this high frequency noise, say mid frequency noise, and we'll have a low frequency noise. So now if you wanted to, you can do pretty much the same thing. Go to edit parameter interface. I like giving it as much structure as possible, so I'm just going to take this separator and do this. And then if you wanted to, you can go back to from nodes. Just look for your, let's say, high frequency noise somewhere. Let's go. So here's our high frequency noise. You can add, like, the position, like the noise type. You can promote all of these and to be able to control it here. So what I'll do is I'll just take the frequency. That's pretty much all I need. Add it here and then label it high. Frequency noise. And then just hit apply and accept. And here we have our high frequency noise now, which we can change on the fly. So if I wanted to get really fancy, I would probably promote as many of these as I can, or as many as I need to be able to control. I'm just going to leave it pretty much as it is, because I do like jumping in sometimes, but I don't feel like I would really need to. I'm going to leave this material pretty much as is, but this is how you would then get control on top. And you could add like a ramp parameter here, and I think that automatically gets promoted to the top. So if you wanted to control your color with a ramp, that gets put right there. And then again, you don't have to keep jumping inside. But for now, I'm going to delete that, and then we'll just leave it as it is. And then now, to be able to save this, what you just need to do is hit right click, say create digital asset. I'm just going to call it, say, BYC cast iron black, and that's what it will be called. This is where it's going to be saved. So it's going to be saved library, preferences, Houdini, 17.5 OTLs, and then inside here. So we just hit accept, and then just one thing to keep in mind is that when you create an asset, you have to edit the parameters from here now. You can't add it back like to the node itself. It has to be edited through here. So I think what we just need to do is go to context, and then the tab subpath menu. Let's just call it, let's just say BYC for now. And then I think that's pretty much all we need to do. So inside of the subpath, we click apply and accept. Now, so now it's unlocked. We should be able to say save node type, match current definition, and it locks. So now I'm pretty sure we should be able to hit tab, go BYC, and there's our BYC cast iron black material saved. And if we add it back on, hit render, we should get the same result. Now we are on our way, and we can start building custom materials, save them, and use them throughout our scenes. So this was the first series of Keep It Minimal. The rest of the series won't be this long, but I really just wanted to show you how to create a custom material that you can save and keep using in all of your different scenes, because essentially with me deleting all of my preferences, this is what I have to do again. So the rest of the series is just going to be showing you guys a minimal scene, show you my lighting setup. You'll be able to download the scene files, check out kind of what I've done, and hopefully grab some of the materials that I make. I'll probably have a separate button so that you can download these assets and keep going. But it's also good to create your own and define custom parameters and everything like that. So this is the end result, which I will be posting soon. Everything will be up on the website. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It for the longest time, baking it down into that material builder, it just stumped me. So finally figured it out. Hopefully it helps you guys. So that's pretty much it for Keep It Minimal Series 1. There'll be A lot more to come as I create new materials. If you want to stay up to date and see when new things come out, just follow me on Instagram at BYC Collective. That's pretty much where I will be posting everything new to check out. You can check out our website as well, download the scene files, start creating sweet, awesome looking things in Houdini. I'll see you next time.